Even after adding Rafael Devers to their lineup, the Giants are scoring just about 3.5 runs per game with him in the lineup, despite a 9-run game and a 5-run game being mixed in. So just how much of an issue is the ballpark?
You are Locked On Giants, your daily San Francisco Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Giants, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. My name is Ben Kaspick, and on the show we provide daily episodes Monday through Friday talking about the San Francisco Giants in a way that's data-driven and rational, but also simple, passionate, and accessible to all. I'm a former contributor for the baseball statistics and analysis websites Beyond the Box Score and Rotographs. I've been podcasting about the Giants since 2015, hosting this show for over 6 years, and I'm a lifelong Giants fan. Thank you for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Check us out there if you have not already, and please smash that subscribe button right now, wherever it is that you're following the show. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. And coming up on today's show, we're going to get into the fact that even after adding Rafael Devers, in 7 games, the Giants are scoring 3.57 runs per game, despite a 9-run game and a 5-run game being mixed in. And so a lot of nights, like we saw last night, we're going to dive into the numbers, park factors. We're going to get into Oracle Park and how much of an issue it really is. How much does it really tone down offense? And also, is it, I've seen it written a lot, said a lot, that it's just the Giants that have trouble hitting at Oracle Park. Is that true? Do their opponents actually do better than them? And we'll give you some medical updates, much needed for Matt Chapman, like they need him back. And then Bryce Eldridge, a big medical update on him, top prospect, down for a little while. So we'll get into that. But this is following a 4-2 loss. Giants scored exactly 2 runs for the 4th time in 7 games with Rafael Devers in the lineup. Exactly 2 runs, 4 out of 7 games. More than half their games, they've scored exactly 2. And that's what was going on before. And so far, I get it. It's a small sample. But so far, it just has, Rafael Devers has not led to an explosion of offense by any means for the Giants. And they just continue to scuffle with the bats. And this coming against the Marlins, like a team that you really want to take advantage of when you're at home and playing an inferior team. And so Logan Webb takes the ball tonight, and you have a good chance of winning that game. He's excellent at home. And so if you do take the game, you do have a chance of taking the series, but it's just not a position you want to put yourself in frequently, which is losing the first game of a series, especially at home against a team that came in 32-44. So the Giants are, it's worth noting that they've played very well at home. They're 25-15 even with the loss. They're 19-20 on the road. They are 22-14 in day games and 22-21 in night games this season. And there's just a feeling I have that Oracle Park at night, we all know it's a tough place to hit, but just how tough is it? And so I dove into park factors and dove into the Giants' performance versus other teams' performance at Oracle Park. So the first thing I want to discuss is the park factors, and this is a baseball savant.com, which is part of MLB, using StatCast information, all those wind graphics and stuff you see during games is coming from StatCast these days. And so the description of park factors on StatCast or Baseball Savant is that StatCast park factors show the observed effect of each displayed stat based on the events in the selected park. Each number is set so that 100 is average for that metric, and the park-specific number is generated by looking at each batter and pitcher controlled by handedness and comparing the frequency of that metric in the selected park compared to the performance of those players in other parks. For example, the 135 home run mark for 2018 through 2020 at Great American Ballpark does not mean the Reds hit 35% more home runs at their home park. It means batters and pitchers who played both at Great American Ballpark and elsewhere, for batters and pitchers, 35% more home runs were observed at Great American Ballpark. So they try to really control this. And for Oracle Park, just in general, and we're looking at a 3-year sample. And so again, it's taking all the players who played there and just saying, what did they do there and what do they do other places? And so it doesn't really matter this year's team, last year's team. We could just look at this year and see what it looks like, but they're using a 3-year sample here. And for the Giants, no surprise, Oracle Park comes in second to last. This is not including the 2 minor league fields that are currently being used for Major League games in Sacramento and in Florida for the Rays. But only the Seattle Mariners have a worse park factor, and it's significantly worse. So there is that. And you've got Cal Raleigh out here with over 30 home runs before July. And so it's not like impossible for a player to hit very well to do well playing for the Giants, to do well offensively. Although it is worth noting that home runs, the Pirates have a worse home run park factor only than the Giants. And for Seattle, they're 20th out of 28. Again, 2 parks not being included. But when we look at night games at Oracle Park over the last 3 years, the Giants' park factor is 93, which, it was 96 for overall, and it becomes 93 for night games. And for home runs, their park factor is dead last for home runs at night at Oracle Park with a park factor of 75 for homers. So that means same players are hitting 25% fewer homers when they're playing at Oracle versus the average stadium. And so it is a big disadvantage to be playing your home night games at Oracle if you're trying to hit home runs. Now, the one area where Oracle Park plays very favorably is triples. So we observe about 27% more triples, and that's for night games. And in terms of doubles, the Giants' park factor is 96, so roughly average. Singles, it's a little bit better than average at 102. Again, 100 is average. For hits overall, it's just a little below average at 97. On base percentage, it is 25th out of 28. And how about just pure runs? Again, we're looking at night games right now. 14% fewer runs, which is second to last. And again, this is the home team and the road team. So we're going to look at splitting those up in just a little bit. But for overall, not just night games, Oracle Park is second to last, only ahead of the Pirates. They're, for singles, 9th overall with a 104 park factor. For doubles, they're 11th overall. And for triples, they're 5th overall. And so it does play somewhat fair for singles and doubles, and then it's very friendly for triples, but you don't see a lot of triples. That's the thing. And you do see a lot of homers in today's game. And so it just feels like the Giants' offense is perpetually struggling when they play at Oracle Park, especially at night. And then you bring in a guy like Devers, and you just hope it doesn't get into his head. He's said from the get-go that if he hits it, it's going to go. And so far, I would say the ballpark hasn't really robbed him. He just hasn't gotten hot yet in a Giants uniform. So coming up in just a minute, though, we're going to split it up and look at how do the Giants do and how do their opponents do, because a lot of people say it's just the Giants who struggle. But is that true? We will analyze in just a minute, and before we do, today's episode of Locked on Giants is brought to you in part by Monarch Money. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. So for me, when I used to have all my accounts, which I have a lot, scattered all over the place, I was lost. But having them all in one hub is absolutely game-changing. And if it was for me, it can be for you. I completely got in control of my finances by having everything in one financial command center. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. All right, here we go. We're going to get more into, is it true that the Giants are the only team that struggles to hit home runs? Lately, I've been at Oracle Park. Lately, I've seen that being talked about. It's become a topic of conversation, but we're going to look at the numbers and see, is that true? Thanks again for making Locked on Giants your first listen every day. Everydayers, tomorrow, we'll be probably recording after the day game, so we'll have two games to talk about. There's multiple different things that could go down. The Giants could get swept in this series. They could win 2 out of 3, or they could lose 2 out of 3. That's all still in play, and we will be breaking it down tomorrow afternoon. So the way I went about looking at this was just looking at splits on Fangraphs, and unfortunately, it was a little bit difficult. I also do want to see, like, is this year Oracle Park playing any different? Kind of is. It's 22nd in park factors. I just think they probably have decided that breaking it down into 3 years makes it more reliable because weird things happen in small samples. But how about night games at Oracle Park this year? It has the 26th worst park factor overall for offense. And for homers, my goodness, it has a park factor of 60, meaning 40% fewer homers. So that is worse than it is for the last 3 years. And in day games, home runs have a park factor of 100. It plays fair so far this year during the day, and it's the worst in baseball at night. So that kind of tracks with what I've seen. And so I wanted to look, though, and this is just this year, but we'll also look at a larger sample of multiple years. But this year at Oracle Park, how have the Giants done? And then we'll look at how have they done on the road. And then we'll look at how have their opponents done at Oracle. How do their opponents do on the road? And for the Giants at Oracle Park, they have a 96 weighted runs created plus. The issue with weighted runs created plus in this case is that it accounts for the difficulty of the ballpark that you're playing in. So I'm more interested in the raw numbers like isolated power, home run totals, batting average, on base slugging. Their batting average at home is 239. Their batting average on the road is 224. Their on base percentage at home, the Giants, is 317. Their on base percentage on the road is 308. Their slugging percentage at home is 376. Their slugging percentage on the road is 372. However, note that the batting average was significantly lower on the road, and so to have a similar slugging means they're actually hitting for more power on the road, which is that isolated power number. It's in the name. They isolate power, and it's 137 at home versus 148 on the road. And the major league average, just by the way, is for isolated power is 153. And again, the Giants are at 148 on the road. So they kind of play like an average power hitting team when they're on the road, and when they're at home, they do not. So this is not going to control for Giants pitching, except when we look at opponents' home and road splits. But do opponents actually have a better time doing things like hitting homers at Oracle Park? So for the Giants, they have hit 35 home runs. It's kind of a pathetic number at Oracle Park this season in 1,463 plate appearances. They have 1,474 plate appearances on the road, so it's almost identical. It's off by 11 plate appearances, so it's almost identical. And they have 42 homers on the road, 35 at home. What about their opponents? Their opponents at Oracle Park have 28 homers. Giants have 35. So that, yes, the Giants have good pitching, like a way above average pitching. And so that's a factor. However, with the StatCast data, it doesn't let me isolate by team performance, like home and road. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's not true. Like, opponents have had a more difficult time than the Giants hitting homers this year at Oracle Park. 28 for them, 35 for the Giants. Opponents, or excuse me, it's not opponents on the road. I'm looking at teams playing the Giants when the Giants are on the road. So they have 1,388 plate appearances versus 1,522 at Oracle. So it's not apples to apples here. But again, 28 home runs at Oracle in 1,522 plate appearances, and 34 home runs when the Giants are in their ballpark and in significantly fewer plate appearances. And so that, it would be even more if you add the extra plate appearances that are missing there. And so opponents have hit 241 at Oracle Park this year versus the Giants hitting just 239. So I guess that's not that different at all. It's almost identical. Opponents have just a 301 on base percentage at Oracle Park. Giants at 317. Opponents with a 356 slugging at Oracle Park this year. Giants at 376. So yes, the Giants pitching plays a major role here, but it's just not true that opponents have had an easier time hitting at Oracle. They have had a worse time. Hence the Giants' record, right, at Oracle Park. Of course, you would expect that opponents do worse, because that's why they're losing much more than they're winning at Oracle. So opponents have an 83 weighted runs created plus against the Giants at Oracle, 86 against the Giants in their home ballpark. So the Giants, that speaks to the Giants pitching, but when the Giants are in their ballpark, the Giants have hit 224. Opponents have hit 225. Opponents have a 304 on base. Giants at 308. Opponents have a 366 slugging. Giants 372. Giants have a 148 isolated power. Opponents 141, excuse me. So any way you slice it, opponents have done worse against the Giants this year. It's just that the Giants have done below average both at home and on the road. And so just to simplify things, I'll look at the last 3 years, 2.5 years, I should say, 2023, 2024, and half of 2025. We are 2 games away from the halfway point. I want to look at just like something like raw home run totals for opponents versus the Giants at Oracle Park. Like how do opponents do in terms of hitting homers and how do the Giants do in terms of hitting homers when they're at Oracle Park. And so that's something that gets hotly debated, and I haven't yet seen anybody back this up. But the Giants since 2023 have about 7,300, well, not about, exactly 7,369 plate appearances at Oracle, and they have 181 homers. Opponents have, obviously, this is, opponents have 7,651 plate appearances, so significantly more than the Giants, which is, I guess it makes sense because they play the top of the ninth a lot if the Giants are winning home games, and the Giants wouldn't play the bottom of the ninth, so there's an extra half inning. I should probably look at innings 1 through 8 to make it fair, but let's just see if that even matters. 181 home runs, 7,600, so it's almost 300 more plate appearances, and opponents have 181 homers. Giants have 181 homers. It's exactly the same, even though opponents have almost 300 more plate appearances, which is like half a season for a player. So if we do look at innings 1 through 8, I bet you we would find that the numbers are far more stark. 1 through 8 for both teams. This is a little bit of a in-depth dive, but that's what I wanted to do here, was to see how it, like, if it's true that opponents have an easier time than the Giants hitting homers at Oracle Park, because it does seem that way sometimes. Like the Red Sox just came into town and were hitting homers. I was there for Friday or Thursday, the first Friday's game against the Red Sox, and they did make it look easy. And sometimes it's like, what the heck is going on? But the numbers just don't bear it out that opponents have an easier time. So the Giants have 6,816 plate appearances. Why does that seem like a larger number? With 161 homers, innings 1 through 8 at Oracle Park. The Giants, 6,816 plate appearances. Opponents have 6,669 plate appearances. So it's closer, 6,669, and the Giants are at 6,816. So the Giants have more plate appearances and 161 homers. Opponents have fewer plate appearances and 173 homers. So that actually is interesting, that opponents do have more homers in fewer plate appearances than the Giants at Oracle Park, innings 1 through 8, going back to 2023. But the difference in plate appearances, 6,669, is like 150-ish, and 161 homers versus 173. So it's not that different, but it is true. And this includes, the Giants have been one of the best teams in baseball at preventing homers. A lot of that has to do with the ballpark, but they also do well at preventing homers on the road. So there's a lot to dive into when it comes to park factors here. But basically what I'm seeing is that Oracle Park is a really tough place to hit. You knew that already. It's especially tough for home runs at night. And day games this year, it's playing pretty fair. And I think that passes the eye test. But also opponents, it's not clear that they actually do have any kind of an easier time. Although that last little set of numbers we looked at did seem to suggest that somewhat. It's certainly not been the case this year, but, well, I actually didn't look this year once I started doing the innings 1 through 8 thing. So I'm going to try to look at that really quick, but I also want to give you an update on someone I think is just super important, because he's done well at Oracle Park and was heating up when he got injured. That's Matt Chapman. What is the latest on him? And then what's going on with Bryce Eldridge? Injured, Giants' top prospect. How big of a deal is it? We'll explain in just a minute, and before we do, Today's episode is brought to you in part by Rougiette. Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra and Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rougiette Ready. Rougiette Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rougiette's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast. On average, in 15 minutes, effects can last up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and in control when the moment is right. I love that it's completely online. Rougiette connects you with a board-certified doctor and ships your treatment discreetly to your door. Head to rougiette.com/LockedOnMLB and use code LockedOnMLB for 15% off today. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnMLB and use promo code LockedOnMLB for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit the Rougiette website for full safety information. All right, as promised, I want to give you an update on Matt Chapman and Bryce Eldridge. I also want to quickly look at the numbers that I was getting into here for the Giants versus their opponents this season at Oracle Park. We're just trying to solve the mystery here, folks, of Oracle Park, which I think continues to be just a really, really tough environment in which to play. And it's unfortunate. The fact of the matter is they have a very good home record. It's just when you look at a guy like Rafael Devers, you just really hope that the park doesn't get into his head and start becoming an issue and something that makes him disgruntled or frustrated or whatever. So just quickly, opponents have 1,330 plate appearances at Oracle Park this year, innings 1 through 8. And again, the reason we're doing 1 through 8 is because both teams are guaranteed to play 8 innings, but not both teams are guaranteed to play 9. Not both offenses get, when the Giants win a 9-inning game, they don't hit in the ninth and the opponent does. So the Giants have 1,351 plate appearances and opponents have 1,330. So it's a difference of just 21 plate appearances. Opponents have 27 home runs and the Giants have, drumroll, 32. So this year it's, what did I say, 1,351? The Giants have 21 more plate appearances and 5 more homers. So they don't hit 5 home runs every 21 plate appearances. So this year, at least, it's just not true that opponents have had an easier time hitting homers at Oracle than the Giants. Over the last 3 years, it's kind of true, but this year it's not been true. So there you have it. So the updates with the medical updates Giants released yesterday, they gave 3. Matt Chapman, right hand inflammation is the diagnosis. They say he will start swinging a bat today, Tuesday, that was yesterday, and will continue his ground ball work. And then they just dropped this bombshell on us. Bryce Eldridge, right hamstring strain, has a moderate right hamstring strain. He will rehab in Arizona for the next 3 to 4 weeks. And so that's a blow. It would be even more of a blow if the Giants hadn't acquired Devers. And so you may have been like, at least they've got Eldridge. The one thing is Eldridge has been struggling in AAA. He was dominating in AA, 148 weighted runs created plus in AA. He's moved up to AAA. He's just 20 years old. He's got to be one of the youngest players in AAA. Doesn't turn 21 until late October. Was struggling, but kind of getting it going, and then he strained his hamstring. And it's a pretty significant strain if he's going to miss rehab for 3 to 4 weeks. So that's a blow, but they're not going to rush him and they shouldn't, and they have Devers. And so, it kind of sorts out maybe possibly your trade deadline and thinking about Eldridge not being a factor probably until at least late August or just as a September call-up at the earliest, something like that. Because they want to get him healthy and they want him to start hitting really well. And so there's multiple factors there. And so after acquiring Devers, if the Giants continue to struggle to score runs, you could definitely see I don't think it's clear at all that Buster Posey is done making moves. Probably nothing like Devers, but an outfielder. I would say second base, although I think that they have an answer there when Chapman returns. And so there's a little more on Chapman coming from Alex Pavlovich, who says that Matt Chapman took some swings today, and this was yesterday, and is fielding grounders. He also threw for the first time since injuring the hand. Well, he did play the next inning, but since he went on the injured list. And Pavlovich says the Giants are optimistic he'll be back before the All-Star break, likely for that last series, which is Dodgers. And so that's coming up. The Giants have two more home games against the Marlins. Then they're on the road, 3 against the White Sox, 4 against the Diamondbacks, and then 3 in Sacramento playing the A's. And then just one more homestand, and then it's the All-Star break. So it's not that much longer. The Dodgers series begins July 11th. That's a Friday. So that would be 2 weeks from this Friday. So it's still a ways away. And in the meantime, Casey Schmidt has been hot. But being able... Look, Christian Koss started at second base and was the Giants' offense yesterday, hitting a 2-run homer. There was a definitely questionable, that's putting it mildly, send of Rafael Devers. He was thrown out at the plate by a mile by Matt Williams. I'm all for aggressive sends. It's not that you need to make it for it to be the right decision, because if you're 100% of the time safe, you're wasting runs, because the next guy up with 2 outs is not going to come through 100% of the time. They're only going to come through like maybe 35% of the time at best. 30% at best. So if he has a 35-40% chance of being safe, it's worth sending the guy. But I don't think he did in that case. It looked like he was going to be out by a mile, and he was. So there was that, and Koss was the offense at second. But I think ultimately getting Chapman back in the lineup and then having Casey Schmidt play second, and we're going to continue to get everyday looks at Schmidt at third base, and that is a good thing. He had a decent game, had another hit, wasn't his best game, but it's just good to be able to watch Casey Schmidt. But I think just having Matt Chapman back, he's so crucial to this offense and defense and the length of this lineup. So hopefully, they're going to go on the road, face some not great pitching against the White Sox. The A's have not pitched well at all. That's part of this road trip that's coming up. Hopefully the offense can get on track and get Oracle Park out of their heads, and maybe Devers can get on a heater. Let's lastly not forget that Devers started out this season 0 for 19 with 15 strikeouts, and then he was still having his best offensive season to date when he came over. So obviously guys can go through a little bit of a slump and still have massively productive years. So we're not going to judge Devers based on 7 games, but he has homered, he has doubled, he has walked a couple times, some singles, but so far yet to make just a real impact on the score, except in that game where he homered and was the difference, really. So anyway, that is all the time we have for today. Thanks again for making Locked On Giants your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Once again, my name is Ben Kaspick. Check me out on Twitter at Ben Kaspick, Kaspick. If you like this show, please consider rating it or leaving a review. It helps me out a lot, so thank you in advance, and thank you to everyone who's done so already. I can't wait to be with you again tomorrow. Thanks again for listening today. You are now Locked On Giants.